Hello, everyone. This week in our homily series, we hit the very heart and core of the issue of what worship really is. And we set the stage for it the last couple of weeks. 2 weeks ago, we talked about setting the table and bringing our offertory, which is something we need to feel to make it really, really genuine on our part. And then last week we talked about preparing ourselves with prayers. Okay, the Lord be with you. We talked about that. And then we had the Sanctus, which takes us to the very, very throne of God. Now, this week we had the Eucharistic prayers. And I'm not going to get into the 4 different Eucharistic prayers, but I'm going to focus on 3 because that's the one I usually do. And I like this because when it affirms the holiness of God, it also takes us to the prophecy in Malachi, which is huge, which in its day was just off the charts. And that is this, that in every place, from the rising of the sun to the setting of the sun, there is going to be altars all over the world that will offer sacrifices to God. I mean, that is the church, isn't it? And that means our altar. And what happens on this altar is the sacrifice of God. We have what is called the Epicus, which is the calling down of the Holy Spirit upon the elements. Again, I'm not doing that. Jesus Christ is doing that. I am there only in persona Christi Capitis, in the person of Jesus. Only he can do that. We only have one priest, and that's one high priest, and that's Jesus. So the Epicus is Jesus working, calling the Spirit down upon the elements, transforming them from mere bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ. Now, right following this Epicus is what's called the words of institution, where the priest will actually speak the words that Jesus spoke at the night before his Paschal sacrifice, the Last Supper. And these words of institution are Jesus speaking these words as if, it's not as if, it takes us back to that very moment. This is what it means, do this in remembrance of me. The word remembrance is a Greek word that cannot be translated well into English. It's called anamnesis. Anamnesis. And in the anamnesis, that picks up the ancient Hebrew idea that when this ritual is performed, it transports you in space and time to the main event, the one and only really event, with the Passover, when there's a dialogue between the Father and the Son whenever a Hebrew was partaking of the Passover, and the child asks him, what's going on here? He says, this is what God has done for me. That's what the Father said. So the Father is saying, I am part of this people of God that was saved at the original Passover. That's what the Passover is. There's not a bunch of Passovers. There's one Passover. That's how the ancient Hebrews thought. It's thinking in terms of sacred time. We moderns can't think in those terms. We think in terms of linear time, right? Well, when Jesus says this, do this in remembrance of me, that's what he's doing. He's just transporting one Passover, which was a type of the main one, which is Jesus Christ, and all the sacrifices of the past going up to Jesus Christ, looks forward to this and gains its authenticity and power from what it looks forward to. All our masses look back and bring us back to that one moment on the cross, which is at the very center of human time. And the Mass takes us to that moment. You see how wonderful this is? How exciting it is? And I hope that you're starting to get a sense of the importance of what's going on in the Mass. I know it's so easy for us to just sort of go through the motions, but what we're doing is the source and summit of our life. And I hope that you are gaining a deeper appreciation for it. This is worship, okay? Worship is not just what we call the liturgy of the word and singing some songs and what have you. That's synagogue. What the Mass does as a whole, it brings the synagogue together with the temple, binds them together, and that's what we have in the Mass. God bless. See you on Sunday.